People have been asking me, Dave, how are you getting Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, WWE champion, in the best shape of his life? I'm going to reveal his diet after this. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
RX Television, RXMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, your weekly question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Be it bodybuilding, not bodybuilding, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. So glad you can join us on this 5th day of February in the year 2025. Let's go to the questions. The first two questions on the show, or in this episode. The first question of the show is from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, available your Apple Store, Google Play, wherever you get your apps. It is there. It's a great resource. $29.95. You get Dave as a coach in your pocket. All his literature, all his writings, all his protocols, all his training, everything in one app.
Like Sid said, you're going to get all my writings, all the videos I've ever done. We put them in one place, so it's very convenient. All my protocols, off-season, pre-contest diets, drug protocols, beginners, advanced people. It's a really, really great library of all my work that I've done. And we put up a video every single week, a Q&A video. So I do another Ask Dave, essentially just for the app members, every single week. We never miss. And in addition to that, you have the ability to ask me questions in the app, and we show everyone's questions and everyone's answers. So it's a learning experience for all the app members. And the app membership has increased and increased over the last couple of years. We have a large number of people, and I want to thank you guys for supporting it. And the reason why I keep doing this is because you guys keep supporting it. So thank you for that. What's the question, Sid?
So the first question from the app is, I'm doing your keto diet as I want to lose 10 pounds of fat. My question is, once I reach my goal, I want to start gaining again, can I simply increase my fats? I like being in ketosis.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to put on a lot of muscle if you're not eating carbs. And I'll tell you why. Because what carbs do is they spare the muscle and the fat you're eating to be used for building and repairing muscle. Whereas if you're not eating carbs, you're using a lot of that fat that you're taking in for a fuel source. But the problem is you could increase the fat. That works to a certain degree. But when you're weight training and doing high intensity activity, the fuel source is carbs. Whether you're in ketosis or not, you're going to use carbs. Now, the reason it works is because, I got the president calling me. The reason it works is because you always have a little bit of carbohydrate production in your body. So your body can take amino acids, it turns it into glycogen. Even the foods you're eating, even on the most strictest ketogenic diet, you're always going to get a little bit of carbs, and you're storing those as glycogen, and you're not using them during the day because your brain is using fat. So those stored carbs get used for fuel in the gym. That's why when you're on a ketogenic diet, you notice that you're strong in the gym and you can train, but you can't train for very long periods of time. You can't be an hour and a half, 2 hours there because you run out of glycogen, and then you start getting weaker. So the workouts need to be briefer, around an hour. The problem is when you're trying to gain muscle in the off season, you don't want to have that limitation of the carbs being, a limitation. So my suggestion is, so that you don't get fat, is just eat a low carb diet. So you can do your protein and fat and then add a little bit of carbs in. And if you add 25 grams of carbs a couple times a day, it's not going to, you might still actually be in ketosis, or you'll still feel like you're in ketosis at least, which is what you like, that smooth, effect of the brain where it's not like going up and down with blood sugar levels. You'll still get that effect. You'll stay leaner, okay, because you're not overeating carbs, and you'll get the benefit of the added carbs so you can spare the muscle and protein. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, that first question from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. We're going to go to our Instagram questions, our YouTube community questions. One of the questions, Dave, I know you've been getting we've been getting a lot in our comment section, is that Cody Rhodes. Now, for those of you who don't know Cody Rhodes, that means you don't follow WWE, but he is really one of the top stars in the entire sport. And he's been tagging you a lot lately. Now, I don't know if you've ever fully gone on record or publicly talked about your relationship with him as his coach. I don't even know many people know that you coach him, that you do his diet, but he's been tagging you relentlessly over the last few days. Yeah. So now people are awakening to the fact that you're coaching him, and people want to know, what exactly do you have him eating? What exactly do you have him taking?
He, Cody is interesting because he's the son of Dusty Rhodes. So if you guys ever followed wrestling back in the day, Dusty Rhodes was a big fat guy, who's one of the most popular wrestlers of his day. So Cody, as he himself has told me, has fat genes. He's not a lean guy by nature. So he has to work really hard on his diet to stay lean. And obviously that's his look. He's got, the guy's a good looking guy. He's got shredded abs, and he is now the WWE, he's been the champion, and he'll be wrestling a big match. Can't reveal who he's wrestling at WrestleMania in April in Vegas. So, I've been working with him the last couple of months. My good friend Scott Siegel put me in touch with him because Scott knows him, did some security work for him. And so I started working with him on his diet. Obviously, some days we do, people have been asking what we do. Right now, we're trying to get him lean. So we had Royal Rumble last week, which he won. And then now we got WrestleMania coming up. So little by little, I've been getting leaner and leaner and leaner. I don't want to peak him. I want to peak him for WrestleMania. So we've been just slowly but surely knocking his weight down little bits at a time. And I think this is the leanest we've seen him right now here in that picture you showed where he tagged me in. And we have a great plan for WrestleMania. And he does well on a ketogenic diet. He's not exclusively on a ketogenic diet. So some days we do protein and fat, and some days we do carbs. He's kind of got that physique where you can torture him for like 2 days, and then you feed him for a day. And I've been playing with his cardio amounts depending on what his travel schedule is. And so the days he's home, I'll hit him harder with cardio. We might go up to an hour a day. And then on the days where he's traveling, I cut him back like maybe, 30 minutes, 35 minutes so that he can, that's something he can do easily in a hotel gym. And it's not going to take a lot of time from him. And it seems to work well because we're shocking his body. And so guys who have those fat genes that their bodies want to hold weight, they never lose muscle. But it's hard sometimes to get the fat off of them. So you have to kind of employ a strategic strategy where you push them real hard, and then right before their body kind of acclimates, you feed them, and it shocks their body. Like I'll throw in a burger and fries every once in a while, and he'll be like, "You sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he gets leaner the next day. So that's kind of like the diet regimen I have him on. He really likes it a lot. He's very disciplined. He's super focused. He very analytical about what he does, and he takes his career very seriously. He's got a great family. He's a great guy. And so I'm really loving working with him. And I think his physique is going to be off the charts at WrestleMania.
This is a fairly straightforward question, I guess, if you want to look at it from that perspective. It's about just training. Does any training style work for anyone? Now, I mean, I would expand it obviously more in terms of for bodybuilding purposes. What bodybuilding training style would work dependent on your goal, dependent in an all-season scenario, in a pre-contest scenario, bulking scenario? If you want to give it a little bit more of a primer as far as what training styles would be most conducive to that.
Here, I get this question a lot, but I think this is I think I've kind of have it figured out in my head, the right answer, because I've said it so many times. But don't ever look at genetic freaks and see what they do in the gym. It's the worst person to ask how to grow. So if I tell you definitively that the best workout regimen to build muscle at an accelerated rate, to give you dense, thick, well-mature muscle, is to lift heavy weights with good form and full range of motion. That is definitive, without doing too much volume. Because if you do too much volume, then you can't lift as heavy as you can lift. You guys know what I'm talking about. If I went to the gym, if I said to you, go to the gym and do 30 sets of chest, do you think you're going to push hard on those 30 sets? You might think you are, but it's impossible. If I tell you to go to the gym and do 12 sets of chest, you're going to give those 12 sets way more intensity and way more focus than you would 30 sets, because that's just, no one can concentrate on 30 sets for that long. It's impossible. And your body just is not going to perform for 2 hours, or whatever it takes to do the 30 sets, the same way it would if you only had to do a 45-minute, workout with 12 sets. So for 98% of the population, heavy weights, full range of motion, executing the movements properly, is going to yield the best results. Now, after I just said that, okay, you're going to say, what about Jay Cutler? He does high volume. He doesn't lift that heavy. What about Phil Heath? What about this Dexter? You're asking me about guys that probably can do. Look, I saw Vince Taylor do 25-pound dumbbell curls, and he probably had some of the freakiest arms I've ever seen. Paul Dillette, 20-pound dumbbell curls, 24-inch arms. You can't look at guys like that and copy them and expect to get the same results, because they just have superior genetics and their bodies are predisposed to build muscle. You got to go to the guy who has no genetics for building muscle. What works in those people? Heavy weight, full range of motion, good execution, free weight movements. That's my suggestion. If you do that, I will guarantee that you will put muscle on. Does it mean that you can't grow from doing other styles of high reps and higher volume? It might work for you. I'm saying find the style that you resonate with and that works well for you. But the definitive style is, and Scott Conley said this, you want to build muscle? Go to the gym, lift heavy weights, go home and eat, and you're going to grow. And that's really, it's a very simple formula. A lot of people want to make it more complicated than it really is. I was having this conversation with someone at the gym, and they were saying, I go to Crunch here in Cape Coral. And I was talking to another bodybuilder who's working out there, and we're talking about, it's like, a lot of guys are going to Smash Fitness, around the corner. They have better machines there, newer machines. I said, well, I don't even use machines anymore. I said, I lift with free weights. I said, I use one machine maybe in every workout, or maybe two machines at the end of my workouts. I said, but my first 2 or 3 movements are always free weights. I can do that. I can do that anywhere. And I like the atmosphere of the gym. It's got big, wide open. It's got a lot of light in the gym. So for me, and I think a lot of guys nowadays, because the machines are that good. The machines are that good. They're so much better than they were years ago. The problem is if you get caught up in doing all machine work, you're not going to get the results, and you're not going to build the mass that you would using free weights. And so that's another mistake that people make. So I'll add a proviso. Heavy weight, full range of motion, good form, lower volume, free weights. That's the way to build the best muscle.
Another question that you have discussed a lot in different scenarios, and that is blood tests. Now, this question is specific to when you should get blood test work. When I guess you would get the most clarity in terms of your blood test profile. Before a cycle, on cycle, or post cycle, when would you get the most accurate picture, and what would you advise?
Most accurate picture of what?
When is the most ideal time to get blood work done? Before, during, or after a cycle?
It's a loaded question, because I like to do it all 3 times sometimes, So I always have guys do blood work about 3 to 4 weeks after they come off a big cycle or a big competition, to let their bodies kind of regulate a little bit. And that gives you kind of an accurate assessment as to where they're at. But sometimes it's not a bad idea during a cycle to get a little blood work, just to see out of curiosity what your body does while you're on cycle, or eating a lot of food, and pushing your body to its max, just to get an idea of what's going on. And sometimes it's good just to check to see what your testosterone levels, to make sure the gear you're taking has full strength, and your level should be pretty high if you're on a cycle. So, but I think the most, as far as checking the body for how it's doing health-wise, about 3 to 4 weeks after you go off your cycle is ideal.
Let's go to a good friend, Nico Cantemir. In all-season scenario, I want to know if I could put GH, IGF-1 in the same cycle, GH when I wake up, 4 IU, and IGF-1 after I train 20 to 40 MCG. This he's getting off your mass building protocol from the app.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting it off there, because I always recommend 10 to 20 micrograms of IGF post-workout. But so that's what I usually recommend, because I think less is better with IGF. You take too much, you shut down real quickly the receptors for IGF-1. But yeah, that's fine. You know, I think we answered this question last week. I feel like I've said this a couple times, but when I did IGF-1, I didn't do GH. I would just do the IGF-1 and the little fast-acting insulin, and that seemed to work well for me, because GH made me a little insulin resistant. And really, the reason you're taking GH is to get the IGF-1 release, right, from the liver. If you're taking IGF-1, you don't really need the GH in the off-season. At least I didn't, because I didn't need to burn any fat. As a matter of fact, the GH is what makes you insulin resistant, and it doesn't allow your insulin to work properly. So for a lot of people who have fast metabolism, growth hormone is really not beneficial, off season. The reason why you're doing it is because you want to get the IGF release. But if you're going to take IGF and it's real, at least, then you don't really need the growth hormone, and you might actually grow better without the growth hormone. But for most people, they tend to get a little fat in the off season. For those people, so for most people, I would say include the GH and the IGF. Yeah, and take it, like I said, you can take the GH in the morning, you can take the IGF post-workout.
Somebody wants to know if we're going to be doing an Arnold Classic prediction contest like we did for the Olympia. The answer is probably not. And the reason I say that is because for those that don't know, we are a very small staff. I mean, between everything that we do on the RXMuscle end, on the species end, doing the Olympia prediction contest. And again, we did that off like Google. I don't even remember what Google Worksheets, what have you. Google Forms, right? Google Forms. Yeah. That was like pulling teeth. And then Google Forms screwed us with the results, which resulted in me in having to manually go into the back end, correct the results, re-announce the results, which was pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. Having to contact one set of winners and then tell them, by the way, you didn't actually win because Google told us the wrong thing. And then having to go back to announce or, inform the correct winners. And really just a lot of effort look, we were very happy, very thankful. We got a good, participation number and everything like that. But, look, I spoke to developers. I spoke to, team software engineers that do this thing, like they create fantasy leagues. They create these kind of like online prediction contests. Again, we can spend the money, but it's just like, all right, what's the ROI on it? And it just came down to the point where it is a lot of effort. So I'm not saying definitely not. Maybe if I get the bug, but probably not. We just, as a staff, we have a lot of other endeavors that we're trying to embark on over the course of the next 2 to 4 months. Obviously, look, the Arnold Classic is in less than a month. So we're going to be, ramping up our prediction efforts and everything like that, our coverage for the show, and getting everything in order so that we can give you the best on-site coverage. And then we have a lot on the species end as well, a lot of renovations on the online side. So again, priorities, but if we do get around to it, we will do it again. But for all that did partake in the Olympia prediction contest, we do thank you. This is a general question, and I do feel like we do get it in different iterations about stuff that guys take now versus back in the day. And the general question is, do you think that guys take more stuff now than in the past? It's a pretty simplistic question, but I'll expand it, Dave, a little bit more in the sense of like, is misinformation driving the dosages that people are taking today, or the misunderstanding thinking somebody else is taking triple the amounts that they need to do that to keep up with the Jones?
Yeah, it's obviously people are definitely taking more today. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, we know that for sure. I'll give you my cycle from the 90s, which I still really use on guys today because I know it's effective, and it seems very tame and conservative. Back in the 90s, it seemed insane. 1,000 milligrams of testosterone, they thought I was nuts doing that. And, 400 or 500 milligrams of like an anabolic with that. And then growth hormone, like if you took growth hormone in like the 90s, they thought like you were like, you were like a drug addict. They thought this guy is a drug monster. Nowadays, like I got guys that have been working out for a week and they're taking Trenbolone already. So, excuse me. So yeah, I think just what happens is people become a little bit more comfortable with it. It's talked about a lot more. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. Steroids everywhere. It's like almost like, that's why I think they should just legalize them at this point, because everyone's taking them anyway. And why would you want to make everyone a felon, essentially? It's ridiculous. And you know what? Because everyone's taking it, they're all taking underground stuff. You might as well just monetize it and let the government make money off of it, and the drug companies make. Because if the drug companies can get involved and make money from it, then they're going to support it, right? And then people are not going to complain about it. I mean, look, think about all the commercials you have for like fillers, Botox, and all these insane, modalities of treatments to anti-aging treatments out there. What's another? Throw in anabolics. Who cares? Let people go to doctors and get legitimate prescriptions for legitimate drugs, and there won't be a problem with it. And guess what? People probably won't abuse it anymore, because they're going to be using real stuff. They're not going to question. A lot of people take extra because they think the stuff they're taking is underdosed. But if you go to the pharmacy and you fill your DECA prescription, and your testosterone prescription, and your Anadrol prescription, guess what? You're going to be like, holy shit, this stuff works well. I don't need to take all this stuff. So I think that it's being fueled, the dosage. And I think Boston Lloyd is the one who started it, because Boston would come on the show and I'd be like, why are you taking these insane dosages? He's like, because I don't trust anything. I think everything's underdosed. So that mindset spread among everyone out there, all the people watching. And now those guys are the coaches that were originally the young kids watching Boston. And then they're telling the same mentality to their guys, hey, I think everything's underdosed because it's underground. Let's take more, And I think that's how it got out of hand, to be honest with you. Like I said, I think the only solution would be if it was legalized and you can actually go and get legal prescriptions for this stuff. I don't understand why you can get Botox and Restylane and all the fillers, but you can't get anabolics. It's just, to me, it's the biggest bunch of hypocrisy I've ever seen.
And certainly we will see if that reverses course over the course of the next 3.5 years. That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder that if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything that we have on this channel, especially over the course of the next 3 weeks, with preview coverage of the 2025 Arnold Classic. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.